Good evening, I'm Micah Ullman.
And I'm Cher Calvin. We begin the news at 6 with breaking news. A lockdown has just been lifted at Netflix and our own KTLA building here in Hollywood after a gunman scare.
That person is now in custody. Tim Lynn is high above in Sky 5. Tim.
Yeah, it was some scary times here for everybody, including all you folks there in the studio. At about 3:53, a phone call was received by a person from a friend who said that he was ready to, he is armed and ready to take action on the Sunset Bronson lot, which does have the Netflix group here as well as KTLA, among others. It's a 42-acre lot, so a lot of folks down here, but we're focusing on this building right here. This is called the Cube. It is owned by Netflix and is part of their office complex. Let's go to some videos shot earlier. Now, SWAT teams will respond to the area here. They came in and were able to evacuate the building and get the employees out safely. And then they did a floor-by-floor search just to make sure that there were no victims or suspects in that building, as well as any evidence might have been left behind. But later they found out that the suspect, it was only a phone call to a friend, and that suspect was taken in custody at a different location. We checked out a location over at Franklin and Gramercy where LAPD was investigating, but right now they're in the middle of that now, trying to figure out exactly what was the motivation of this subject making that phone call and that indirect threat towards the Sunset Bronson Studios. But as you said, this all came to an end here about 5:30 after LAPD teams cleared that building and gave it all clear. And now the folks here at Netflix and KTLA are coming off lockdown and repopulating their businesses. So that's the latest. Let me send it back down to you to studio.
Tim Lynn, thank you. In the moment, the fear of the unknown, of course, and as you can imagine, scary moments inside the KTLA newsroom after word spread of a possible man with a gun on the 42-acre lot we share with Netflix.
And Kimberly Chang is live outside the Netflix studios with more. Kimberly?
Sure, Micah, for about 3 hours, employees here at KTLA as well as Netflix, we were not allowed on or off the lot. We were advised to shelter in place. We were placed on lockdown. Now take a look at this video shot earlier from the ground right outside of the Netflix area. We're now confirming from lot security here at the Sunset Bronson Studios in Hollywood that the suspect was a Netflix employee who was fired yesterday. That person reportedly called another employee and said he was armed and ready to take action. Around 3 p.m. we were placed on lockdown here at the KTLA studios. Security told us there were reports of a man with a gun. The Sunset Bronson lot is home to Netflix headquarters, the KTLA studios and newsroom, and numerous shows are shot on multiple stages here. It's a huge campus that takes up a city block. Police and helicopters surrounded the area near Sunset and Van Ness in Hollywood. We could see people being evacuated from Netflix. Employees were advised to stay away from windows. Around the lot, we saw shades were shut on all of the buildings. Police did sweeps of multiple buildings and the parking lot. We could see SWAT teams going floor by floor. Now around 5 p.m. the lockdown was lifted according to LAPD. The suspect was never on the lot. The unidentified suspect was taken into custody in a nearby area off the lot, and a gun was not found. Again, the lockdown has been lifted here at KTLA Studios, back live. Everyone is okay, and the situation is still under investigation by authorities. Reporting live in Hollywood, I'm Kimberly Chang, KTLA 5 News.
All right, Kimberly, thank you. And our other top story this evening, dangerous flooding and mud flow wreaking havoc on Southern California. The powerful winter storm has triggered evacuation orders for residents in several burn areas across the region.
We have team coverage tonight. Our crew spread out throughout the most vulnerable areas, tracking conditions, and Vera standing by with the latest on the storm front. First, live to Lake Elsinore and Steve Cooge, who's seeing heavy flash flooding and dangerous mud flow tonight. Steve.
Extremely dangerous and extremely fast, guys. One of the most significant areas of damage that we've seen so far is this place right behind me. We had flash floodwaters cut a canyon here in this neighborhood, 15 feet deep and 100 feet wide. It stretches for more than a mile going all the way down here. It's an incredible eye-opening sight to behold. And what caused it? Rain. We talked to neighbors who told us the rain they heard earlier today and overnight was the loudest they've ever heard in their entire lives.
The problem we actually had was the storm stalled up near Santiago Peak and dumped between 5 and 7 inches of rain into the upper elevations. That created almost a flushing effect downstream. So that, coupled with the rain when it got down here, created just more water than this channel could handle.
In Lake Elsinore, it was more water than the roads could handle, more water than fences could handle, and more water than backyards could handle.
We're lucky. Didn't get our house, but I know that some in our community were not that lucky.
One of the most unlucky is a house on the verge of collapsing into a river of mud. A flood control channel failed, allowing a powerful stream of muddy water to shave away the ground until the home was teetering on the brink of disaster. It's no longer safe to live in.
The amount of water that was coming down this river in the last 12 hours was unlike this area has ever seen.
And more than just water is coming with it.
Huge chunks of concrete and, like I said, a television, people's patio furniture, trash cans. As that debris flows down, it just takes chunks of earth with it.
And where does all that earth and debris end up? The space under this bridge used to be 8 feet deep, but because of all the debris that's piled up here, it's now a little more than a foot deep and at risk of flooding again. Out of all the Southern California communities affected by the rain, Lake Elsinore arguably has it the worst. This area has had a problem ever since the Holy Fire burned up its hills and mountains over the summer. Now, each and every time the storms pour down, significant amounts of mud and debris slide down from the hills and mountains above, and it keeps getting worse.
This is probably one of the most significant ones in recent history.
The rain has tapered off, but as you can see, the water is still flowing here in Lake Elsinore. Even once all the rain and water is gone, the problems won't be over there. Dried mud and large rocks, they'll be left like fresh pavement, covering several feet deep in many areas around here. And that's a mess that's going to require shoveling and likely bulldozers and heavy digging equipment to get out of there. We do have some good news tonight for the residents of Lake Elsinore. I've just been informed by officials that the mandatory evacuations have now been reduced to voluntary. So anybody that was out of their homes, they can now come back, but you might not want to just yet as a precaution. Again, voluntary evacuations still in effect, mandatory are now done with. Live in Lake Elsinore, I'm Steve Couge, KTLA 5 News. Micah, Cher, Vera, I'll throw it back to you.
All right, Steve, thank you for that. And you're now looking at the community of Malibu West that sits below some of the steep hillsides of the Santa Monica Mountains. It is one of many areas on alert because of the storm. There are no major concerns right now, but authorities are keeping their eyes on the region. Malibu West would be one of the first to receive an evacuation order in case of heavy downpours. And if you like to take Topanga Canyon Road home from the 101 or PCH, it is shut down between Grandview and PCH. The roadway suffered a major landslide.
In Alhambra, the storm brought down 2 trees on the same street. Residents on West Ross Street say they heard a large crack and then a thump, followed seconds later by another crash. One of the trees brought down several power lines, creating a very dangerous situation for a time.
All right, so is there more rain on the way? Meteorologist Vera Jimenez with answers for us tonight. Ivy.
Hi, Cher. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Well, we do have some rain on the way, but for tonight, I can tell you that most of it is going to dry out.
Vera, thank you. And today's storm has been too much for the already rain-soaked ground in a number of places. A large sinkhole opened up in Hermosa Beach this morning at 35th Street and Palm Drive. The area is closed to drivers while workers try to repair the roadway. And heavy rains washed out part of State Route 243 in Idlewild. Caltrans reports a closure in effect from Hurley Flats to the 110 and Saunders Meadow. Highway 74 also has reports of closures from landslides and flooding.
A dramatic swiftwater rescue in Riverside County. A man and a woman were at first stranded in their truck on a flooded roadway in Cabazon near Palm Springs. But the gushing floodwaters washed the truck away, forcing the two to swim to nearby bushes. A fire department helicopter then airlifted them to safety. They were not injured.
Stay with KTLA as we continue to track the latest evacuations and storm damage. And don't forget, you can download our free KTLA 5 weather app for up-to-the-minute notifications straight from your phone.
Major developments tonight in Washington, where President Trump is expected to sign a spending bill that will avert another government shutdown. But the president is also expected to declare a national emergency to secure funding for a border wall. Today, the Senate approved the spending plan that was negotiated by members of Congress in both parties. Moments ago, the House passed it as well. The measure only includes $1.3 billion for border security, far short of the $5.7 billion requested by the president. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she may file a legal challenge to what she calls executive overreach.
It's important to note that when the president declares this emergency, first of all, it's not an emergency, what's happening at the border. It's a humanitarian challenge to us. The president has tried to sell a bill of goods.
The ACLU says an emergency declaration would be a dangerous precedent to set and could lead to similar action on issues like gun control under a Democrat administration. We'll have much more in a live report from Washington coming up on the news at 6:30.
Still ahead on the news at 6, a shooting live streamed on YouTube by the victim herself.
Yeah, the dramatic video showing a chaotic scene in the Fairfax district. What police are saying led to the shooting.
Plus, the flu season in full swing, but how effective are the vaccines this year? Why some are choosing to skip the flu shot this season.
And the powerful storm leaving several horses in danger. The efforts to help keep the animals safe after the break.